I am a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun.
He's inside the school shooting at the gun!
Well, I had to do it because somebody had to do something.
After shooting in the theater, I didn't have a plan of whether to die or not.
Hi everyone, I hope all has been well. Today's video is covering another member's suggested case. Thank you to the Pittsburgh Pirates hat for requesting it. If you would like to be able to pick at least one case that I cover a month, please consider joining my membership. You'll gain access to other perks as well. To join, you can either click the join button below or follow the link in the description or the pinned comment. Thank you to all of you who have become members already. I truly appreciate it. I just want to preface this video by saying that information regarding certain parts of the case was extremely limited, but I did my best to gather what I could. Now, let's get into the case, by first talking about today's shooter. Charles Carl Roberts IV was born on December 7, 1973. There isn't much reported about his life growing up, but what is known is that he and his parents, as well as 3 younger brothers, lived in or around Strasburg, Pennsylvania. This area is known for its prevalent Amish community, and despite the Roberts family not being a part of the lifestyle, they reportedly got along well with the local Amish people. Unfortunately, there's really nothing that I could find regarding his childhood, so we will move on to his adult life. Charles married his wife, Marie, on November 6, 1996. The two had met as teenagers, before getting engaged in their early 20s. A year later, in 1997, the two of them had their first child, a daughter named Elise, who was born prematurely and unfortunately passed away only 20 minutes after her birth. Elise's death impacted Charles's life gravely, which becomes evident later, as we will soon talk about. Her passing was ultimately cited as the main reason he acted out a violent attack nearly a decade later. After her death, in the coming years, Charles and Marie had 3 more children together. Charles reportedly amassed an alarming stockpile of weapons, including a handgun, shotguns, and knives in the following years. Judging by his later actions, this was most likely the start to the evil plan that Roberts conjured up. Back to his life before the attack, Charles himself was well known by the Amish community in the area, since he was a milk truck driver. His roots often took him to and from the local dairy farms. He was familiar with most of the families in the area, which makes what he went on to do that much worse. With little more to talk about regarding his personal life, let's get right into the main event of this case. I will now be referring to Charles as Roberts. In the early morning hours of October 2, 2006, at about 3 a.m., Roberts returned home after finishing his milk delivery route for the day. At 8:45 a.m., Roberts and his wife walked their kids down to the bus stop. The kids boarded the bus before Roberts called them to come back out. He then kissed them and told them that he loved them. Upon returning home, Roberts waited for his wife to leave the house. After her departure, he wrote 4 suicide notes, 1 for his wife and 1 for each of his kids. After completing these notes, Roberts began to gather items for a disturbing and violent plan that he was about to execute. It is reported that Roberts had been preparing for the coming attack for about a week, as he purchased some of the supplies 6 days earlier, on September 26th. I also read that Roberts had been acting odd for a while prior to the shooting, but in the week leading up to it, he had seemingly gone back to his normal self. Some speculate that this was because he finally decided on what he was going to do. As stated before, Roberts started to pack some things that he was planning to use later that day. The items that he mustered up included a few weapons, a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, a 12-gauge shotgun, a .30-06 rifle, a stun gun, and 2 knives. Also pooled together were at least 600 rounds of ammunition, gunpowder, a change of clothes, wood, plastic zip-tie handcuffs, as well as a slew of tools, tape, screws, bolts, and wire. As we'll later talk about, Roberts also included lube in his list of supplies. At 10 a.m., Roberts loaded these items into a truck and drove to the West Nickel Mines School, which was about a mile away from his home. Once he arrived, Roberts backed the truck up to the front of the one-room schoolhouse and entered the building with his pistol in hand. He brought in all of the supplies he had packed as well. In the schoolhouse were over 30 people, including some adults, at least 25 children varying in age, and a few infants. Roberts ordered all of the 15 young boys out of the building, along with a pregnant woman and 3 women with small babies. The teacher, as well as 1 female student, also managed to escape the building while Roberts was preoccupied with securing the room. 10 female students, aged 6 to 13, remained, now held hostage by Roberts. He lined them all up against the wall, facing the chalkboard before binding their feet together and barricading the main door from the inside. The teacher who had escaped didn't waste time trying to get help. She ran from the school to a nearby home and had the owner call 911. A little less than 10 minutes later, at 10:45 a.m., police arrived on scene and attempted to make contact with Roberts via loudspeaker, to no avail. Shortly before 11 a.m., Roberts' wife Marie returned home and found all 4 of the suicide notes that he had left for the family. The note to his wife is apparently 3 pages long, but only the first page is publicly available. The note addressed to her read, quote, "I don't know how you put up with me all those years. I am not worthy of you. You are the perfect wife. You deserve so much better. We had so many good memories together, as well as the tragedy with Elise. It changed my life forever. I haven't been the same since. It affected me in a way I never felt possible. I am filled with so much hate toward myself, hate towards God, and unimaginable emptiness. It seems like every time we do something fun, I think about how Elise wasn't here to share it with us, and I go right back to anger." Unquote. Also in this note, Roberts reportedly admitted to his wife that he had molested 2 young family members when he was 12 years old, and that recently, he had been dreaming of committing a similar act once again. According to Roberts' mom in a later interview, the notes to his children consisted of positive affirmations towards them. He expressed how much he loved them and how they were amazing children. In the notes, Roberts also apologized to his kids that he wouldn't be around to watch them grow up. Upon finding the worrying notes, Marie immediately attempted to call Roberts, but received no answer. Shortly after the missed call, he called her back. While on the phone with his wife, Roberts explained that he would not be coming home and that she would never see him again. He also reportedly went more into detail about the molestations he mentioned in his note. According to Roberts, 20 years prior, he had molested 2 female family members, aged 3 and 5. It's important to note that no one has ever been able to verify this claim. Family members report that they never knew of something like this happening, and as far as I gathered, the alleged victims have not come out to confirm this. They were very young at the time, though, so it's possible that they just don't remember. The call eventually ended, and Marie quickly dialed 911. On this call, Marie expressed her immense worry for her husband, stating, quote, "He said I'm not coming home. He was upset about something that had happened 20 years ago, and he said he was getting revenge for it. I don't think he was getting revenge on another person. I'm worried that maybe he was trying to commit suicide." Unquote. Moments after getting off the phone with his wife, Roberts also placed a call to 911 and demanded that police leave the scene within a few seconds, or he would begin shooting the students he had held inside of the building. Roberts then hung up the phone. Police quickly attempted to call him back so they could talk to him, but he did not answer. Leaving the scene so quickly was an impossible task. There was nothing that they could do. As promised by Roberts, a few seconds later, police suddenly heard several shots ring out from inside of the schoolhouse. About a dozen of them came from his pistol, and 3 were from his shotgun. Roberts had begun to shoot the young girls one by one in the back of their heads, killing one of them instantly and severely injuring the rest. He also apparently attempted to shoot at the police but was unsuccessful. It's speculated that Roberts was determined to sexually assault the young girls, but panicked and cut his plans short when the police showed up. Authorities later found the KY Jelly brand lubricant that Roberts had brought into the schoolhouse, and paired with his earlier confession to his wife, this theory is probable. Anyway, getting back into the timeline, authorities promptly stormed the schoolhouse, but found the front door to be blocked. Hurriedly, they broke through the windows and made entry that way. Once inside, they discovered Roberts' dead body, along with one already deceased student. For the moment, the other 9 girls were alive, but that unfortunately wouldn't be the case for much longer. A second student ended up dying in an officer's arms as he carried her out of the building. A third passed away on the way to the hospital. Later that night, 2 more students, who were actually sisters, sadly died in the hospital, bringing the number of innocent casualties up to 5. The other 5 girls were severely injured, and were all in either serious or critical condition when they arrived at the hospital. Thankfully, these 5 girls ended up surviving. The 5 victims that unfortunately did not make it were 7-year-old Naomi Rose Ebersol, 13-year-old Marion Stoltzfus Fisher, 12-year-old Anna Mae Stoltzfus, 7-year-old Lena Zook Miller, and 8-year-old Mary Liz Miller. The deputy coroner in Lancaster County, Janice Ballinger, later stated, quote, "There was not one desk, not one chair, in the whole schoolroom that was not splattered with either blood or glass. There were bullet holes everywhere, everywhere," unquote. Now let's get a little into the exceptional response from the Amish community. Immediately following the shooting, one of the deceased student's grandfathers reportedly stated, quote, "We must not think evil of this man," unquote. He urged members of the community not to hate Roberts for what he had done. Another Amish father added to this forgiving sentiment, saying, quote, "He had a mother and a wife and a soul, and now he's standing before a just God," unquote. A group of Amish people reportedly crowded outside of the Roberts home in support of his family shortly after the shooting. They also made it out to Roberts' parents and his in-laws' home to comfort them in their time of loss. It's reported that one Amish man held Roberts' sobbing father in his arms for as long as an hour, in an attempt to console him. Roberts' widow, Marie, was even invited to one of his deceased victims' funerals. I'll get further into the remarkable response from the Amish community in a bit. On October 12, 2006, a week after the shooting took place, the West Nickel Mines schoolhouse was demolished by the Amish people. Nearby, a new structure was built, called the New Hope School. It opened about 6 months after the shooting occurred, on April 2, 2007. The school was intentionally built to resemble the previous building as little as possible. The 5 wounded but surviving victims overcame a lot of struggles in the year following the shooting. Most of them returned to school not long after they recovered. However, the youngest wounded victim, only 6 years old when she was shot, unfortunately suffered serious brain injuries, and as of October 2016, she was unable to walk, talk, or feed herself. Some of the survivors later stated that shortly before he began his rampage, Roberts told them he was furious at God because his daughter passed away, despite his prayers for her life to be saved. The aftermath of this case is truly extraordinary, and is a big reason why the shooting got so much recognition. The Amish community reportedly rallied around the Roberts family, even setting up a fundraiser to aid his widow and children financially after the shooter's passing. About 30 members of the Amish community personally attended Roberts' funeral. He was buried next to his late daughter, Elise. When media flocked to the burial ceremony, the Amish people formed a crescent around Roberts' grieving family, protecting them from being filmed in such a vulnerable state. Their response has been criticized by some, and welcomed by others. To some, the quick act of forgiving the shooter, and even comforting his family, is seen as inappropriate given the severity of the situation, and the fact that Roberts clearly didn't have any remorse for the pain and suffering he caused. Others claim that the Amish's willingness to forgive the shooter for this tragic attack only shows their amazing values and contributes to a brighter future. I'm curious to know what you guys think about their unusually forgiving response. The West Mines Children's Fund was also set up to help pay for the hospital bills for the kids who were wounded. Usually the Amish do not accept monetary gifts, but an exception was made because of the sheer amount of money the bills ended up being. By September of 2007, it was reported that over $4 million had been collected and allocated to the families of the victims. Due to the Amish's private and reserved nature, there unfortunately isn't much information on the victims. I did still want to dedicate a portion of the video to them, as I believe they deserve more than anyone to be remembered. Naomi Rose Ebersol was born on July 6, 1999, and was only 7 years old. She was in 2nd grade at the time of her murder. Marion Stoltzfus Fisher was 13 years old when she was killed, born on April 3, 1993. At the time, she was in 8th grade. Anna Mae Stoltzfus was born on April 16, 1994, and was 12 years old when she died. She was a 7th grader. 7-year-old Lena Zook Miller was born on May 27, 1999, and was in 2nd grade at the time of her death. Mary Liz Miller, sister of Lena Miller, was 8 years old when she was killed, born on October 17, 1997. She was a 3rd grader. Please keep all of these innocent victims, as well as their families, in your thoughts today. I can't even imagine how it feels to lose your loved one in such a horrific and unjustified way. I sincerely hope that they have found healing in the years following this tragedy. The survivors of the attack were also severely affected, and some have reported harboring trauma and guilt surrounding the shooting. The father of one of the boys that was released before the shooting occurred later stated, quote, "He lost his childhood that day. It bothered him and other boys that they had not done something. Some of them are still struggling with that, 10 years on." Unquote. This boy apparently almost completely stopped eating after the attack, and actually ended up in the hospital in 2007 due to severe starvation. Thankfully, his mental health has since improved significantly according to TheGuardian.com. One of the surviving wounded victims also spoke out later in her life. Barbara Fisher, who was one of 3 sisters being held by Roberts, recalled the terrifying moments leading up to the shooting. According to her, as Roberts was threatening to take revenge on God for the death of his daughter, Barbara's older sister Marion said, quote, "Shoot me first." Barbara followed her sister's lead and said, quote, "Shoot me second." Their younger sister then went along saying, quote, "Shoot me next." In the end, each of them were shot, but Marion, Barbara's older sister, was the only one of them to succumb to her wounds. Barbara and her younger sister both recovered from their extensive injuries. Robert's motives obviously coincide with his anger towards God for the death of his infant daughter 9 years prior. He was clearly going through a hard time following her passing, but I think it's safe to say that he also was suffering with some deeper mental health issues. It's puzzling to me that despite knowing the pain that comes with losing a child, Roberts put numerous other parents through the same anguish. The fact that he not only did this, but also that he actually knew some of the families of the girls he killed just makes it that much worse. The support for the Roberts family exhibited by the Amish community is truly remarkable. Through their losses and the grief that came with them, they were able to forgive the person who took away their loved ones, and I find that to be truly exceptional. With that, I'm going to wrap the video up here. Thank you to all of you who have stuck around to the end. I hope that you found this video to be informative. I want to give a huge thank you to all my members. I really appreciate the extra support. As always, if you'd like to become a member, simply click the join button below or follow the link in the description or pinned comment. Also, I have some social media that you guys can follow. I'm hoping to become more active there soon, so if you want to follow me, I'll have the links to my Twitter and subreddit in the description below. I hope to see you around, and until next time, stay safe.